G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Something a little bit different this week. Here next to me is a beautiful XB GT two-door hardtop in yellow blaze. Yeah, nice car. Anyway, the story with this is that the owner's had it in storage for about 20 years and he's finally got around to getting her back on the road, and he wants to put everything back as much as he can to stock, as far as appearances go anyway. I think he's going to do something with the engine that's a little bit non-stock, if you know what I'm saying. But with the engine bay, he had some ideas back in the 90s that he was going to follow through on, and he sort of changed his mind, and as a result we've tried to tidy it up, weld up some holes that shouldn't have been there. We've actually swapped out the apron on the driver's side where the battery goes, simply because the one that was there had been altered, so we've put it back to stock, and generally just gone around and give it a bit of a clean up, and we're going to put it back to the original yellow blaze, and that's what we're doing. So at the moment it's all in epoxy. We've done the metal work and it's in epoxy. Just going to go ahead and spray some high fill, and after that we'll prep it and then we'll put some colour on it. But I'm really happy to be working on this car, something a little bit different. So hope you stick around, watch the process, and yeah, it should turn out good. I know the owner's going to be happy. He hasn't driven this thing since, I think he said he took it off the road in the year 2000, so that's 22 years it's been off the road. And the really interesting thing is that this guy bought this car in 1987 when he was, I think, 18 years old, and he's had it ever since. So how's that? That's a bit of an Eric Banner type story, isn't it? It's like awesome. Anyway, just get on with it. We'll get this paint laid down, we'll go through the process, and get it back to the way she's meant to be. Alright, so just about ready to go. The weather's really cold at the moment, as any of you around Sydney right now would know. So what I've done is I've got this infrared light on this thing. It's been basically aimed at this engine bay for the last couple of hours, and right at the moment I've already been over and wiped it down with Prep Sol, been over it with a tack rag, and as well as that I had the high fill primer, which I'm using, soaking in some hot water. I just put the can in some boiling hot water and let it sit there for half an hour, and it's just been on the shaker, so we're pretty much all ready to go. The engine bay, all the surfaces should be relatively warm or lukewarm. You don't want them hot obviously, but we definitely want them a little bit better than the ambient room temperature. So we'll go ahead and mix this paint up and we'll start laying it down. So as I mentioned, I had this paint, that's the can there. I've already the label's already come off it, which is fine. I had that soaking in this bucket of boiling hot water for about half an hour or more, and just feeling the can now, it just feels slightly warm, which is good, because basically we're probably looking at the temperature inside the building now is probably about 14-15 degrees. So that's why I thought it's worth it. You know, you don't want to be spraying in really cold weather without sort of, doing something. So heating the paint up and then heating the surface up seems like probably the best way to go. So that's what I've done. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get this mixed up. It's 4:1 ratio. It's just basically a 2K high fill, so nothing complicated about that. I'll get that mixed up and we'll get to spraying. Put some gloves on, I think. So if anyone's wondering, yeah, I've already had this on the paint shaker, so she's really well mixed up. I don't know how much of this I'm going to use. I'm just going to mix up a little bit to begin. I don't know. So I've just got this old gun which I use. It's I I just use it for high fill and for epoxy. It's got a 2mm tip. Alright guys, so it's a few days later and I've been over the primer surfacer and prepped it. Actually the owner came in and actually did most of the sanding. So it's all been prepped, and I actually started to put the first base coat on and realised I didn't have the camera on. So anyway, so we're at this stage now, just about to continue on putting on the first coat of base coat, and I'll catch up to you once we get the base coat on. Okay, so we've got 4 coats of the yellow blaze base down, and I waited about 15 minutes between coats, and after the final coat I've now left it for about 30 or 40 minutes, and I just left it with the infrared light on it. So now I'm ready to start spraying the clear. So here we go. Well, we've done it, and naturally the battery ran out. I forgot about the camera, you know, all that sort of good stuff. So we've probably missed the last bit of the process, but so what I've got is 4 coats of colour and 3 coats of clear, and it's certainly a very bright colour, this yellow blaze, and so, you know, it's brand new paint. The other stuff's 25 years old. So anyway, the main thing is the finish, and it's come up fairly nice. It's got a nice orange peel to it. So anyway, hopefully the owner will be happy. We'll get this thing down off the rotisserie, and we'll catch up with the owner when he comes in, see what he thinks. Okay, it's a couple of days later and the owner's on his way over to check out his car. Hopefully he's happy with what I've done to the engine bay, and he's going to be taking it off the rotisserie and getting it ready for the tilt tray to pick it up, and then it'll start the next leg of its journey, which is new suspension. He's going to install the engine back in it and get it back on the road. Hopefully that won't be too long. First time on the road in 22 years, I believe, so be interesting to have a chat to him when he gets here and just get a little bit of the backstory. So anyway, he should be here shortly, and see what we can find out. Hey Rev, how are you?
Good, mate.
That's
how
good.
Are you?
Good, mate, good.
There she is, huh?
Yeah. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you.
Danny, how are you, mate?
I'm good, yourself?
Yeah, good. Well, come and have a look, mate. Shiny.
Oh wow, awesome. Beautiful. Look at that, eh? I love it.
And your engine number, your VIN number and everything is fairly clearly seen.
Perfect.
I sort of scratched it out. You know, with the initial coats, I scratched it out with a scriber.
Yeah.
And yeah, so.
Oh, that's awesome. She looks perfect, mate. Beautiful.
If you want to also tip it over, I'll show you what, how the bottom turned out. Did all the under seal, of course, inside the guards.
Yeah.
Guards, or whatever you want to call that area.
Yeah, that's how they should look, mate. Hang on, I'm still taking in. Still taking all.
Well, if you tip it, you'll probably be able to have a better look.
Yeah. All right. Which way? Clockwise or? Yep.
Go towards the forklift, yeah?
Yeah. Keep going. That's it, lock it there, mate. Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Mate, 22 years.
22 years, eh?
22 years. 22 years been on.
So how old were you when you bought this car?
18.
18 years old. And what year was that?
87.
87.
I know I'm showing my age, but yes.
No, well, it's not really about your age, but it's about how long you've owned the car, and I think that's amazing, you know. That
look, the influence was because Danny and myself, I mean, our dads always loved the two doors, and we can remember driving out of McLeod Ford in 1974. It was a XB GT Coupe. It was only a 6-cylinder, but
yeah.
That was my first experience with a coupe, and I've always loved them ever since. And so
what colour was that one?
That was Ford Mulberry Metallic.
Mulberry.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I remember that McLeod Ford, we drove out and I said, wow, look at this thing. I was like, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's why, and my dad loves it too, you know, so he really loved to see it in its glory like this now. And he said he's going to help me assemble it. He just
awesome.
Yeah, he loves it. Yeah.
How old's your dad now?
84.
84. Yeah. Well, that'll be a great moment for him to see it come back like this. And
I want to see him happy as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate your work, Tom. This is good. I really like it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you're happy with it. I mean, there's obviously a difference between the plenum and that, but when I look at, when I sort of blur my eyes and I look at the engine bay that painted and then the rest of the car,
that's right.
I think there's a closer correlation between the colour of the outside of the car and that than the actual plenum. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's either faded or maybe there's not so many coats. I'm not sure. But
I think there's probably not so many coats. The last outing it had was the All Ford Day in 2000. So.
Really? And you took it off the road that year?
I took it off the road that year.
Yeah. And so what was the plan? What was the plan when you took it off the road? Were you thinking of racing it or something?
Oh, look, you know, I was thinking of doing a bit of racing on the track because my heroes were, Moffat and Goss and all the boys.
Yeah.
And I got speaking to John Goss a while ago, and he sort of snapped me out of it, believe it or not. He said, he goes, Tony, it's a rare car. You haven't got any sponsors. You don't want to crash into anyone. So
no.
Certainly anyone doesn't want to crash into you.
Yeah.
And I said, look, you're right. He said he'd help me with the car, but I like the car the way it is, but I don't mind, beefing up the shocks a bit, lowering it slightly, because that was the intentions of these cars.
Yeah, a little bit of stiffening here and there.
Slightly wide rubber.
Yeah. Because as I understand it, you there was some plans to make some alterations to suspension and what have you, and sort of there were some alterations done in the engine bay, but then it sort of stopped at that point, and you sort of went, no, I'm not going to go in that direction, and that's when you brought it to me, and that's where we sort of then went back, putting everything back to original.
I had a so-called engineer involved.
Yeah.
He just wasn't up to the task, and it's not fair. I'm not going to mention any names, of course.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no.
But he wasn't up to the task, and he hasn't really got the same passion as I have for this type of car.
Yeah.
He didn't mind he would have just cut the whole thing up and modified everything. I said, no, we can't do that.
You know? Yeah.
We can't do that. Yeah, then Cosworth ended up making me an engine for it. They built an engine for it.
Really?
NASCAR engine, yeah.
Wow.
Something which, that's what got me interested, because I am a self-confessed petrol head.
Yeah.
But that's another story for
Yeah. So it's sort of like there was a bit of a fork in the road, if you like.
Yeah. And when I got introduced to yourself through Kevin, I said, it was like, it was meant to be. It was a blessing in disguise for me, you know. And here it is, you know.
Yep. Yeah.
This is the last time I want to see this car in this angle.
Yes.
I want to see it in this angle.
Let's have a look at the underside, because as I mentioned to you the other day, I wanted to try to get it somewhere, you know, how I thought it should be, and that is, you know, with enough black paint showing underneath, and just, you know, a slight bit of overspray sort of coming in a few places.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
But it wouldn't have been, you know, completely coated, I don't think.
Well,
so
it does vary, because this is a 76.
Yeah.
5th month 76, so it does vary. I have seen them. I have seen some late XBs and maybe XCs black here. It all depends.
Yeah, and it probably depends on the painter on the day. You know, like how much paint he got in those other areas. So
even the boot lids in the back. I mean, a lot of them were colour coded in the quarters, but this wasn't. This generally came out black. So that's how we left it.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like it.
Yeah. Ready to go.
No, now it's up to me for this.
Yeah.
This is the exciting thing now for me.
Yeah. All right, so she's off for her rotisserie. She's on the trolley and all ready to pick up, Rev.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Excited?
Very excited, mate. Very excited.
Cool.
It's probably the most excitement I've had since I purchased the car in '87. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fantastic. Love it.
All right, mate.
That's it.
All right. Well, we'll see you again in the morning when the tow truck arrives, eh?
Thanks again for your work.
No worries, mate.
In despair, held underwater, find for air. Breathe in, breathe out. Hey, come alive. Breathe in, breathe out. Look at the colors around.
So that was really good to see how excited and inspired, motivated the owner of that car was to get it back after having it off the road for so long. So it really makes me feel good, and it makes me feel that I did something worthwhile, giving him a hand on that, and can't wait to see it finished. I'm sure that from this point, he's going to be really chafing at the bit to get that car all put back together and running down the road. So I'm sure that we'll see it back here once it is, and in the meantime, we'll just get on with our own stuff. So I can't tell you what we're going to do next, guys. We've got a fair amount of choice here. Got the Chevy, got the Coupe, got the XA sedan, the Mustang, not so much. The pickup, well, yeah. That's just okay as it is. So I'll get back to you. Hopefully it won't be too long, and we'll be back onto something else. So thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.